1971 XL250 Honda with some good old glitter oil. Oh no. Okay, today we are back on our 1972 Honda Xl250. This was the old girl that had said to be 57 miles on it. This came from Mecum Auctions. Sweet bike. So we had to do a teardown. We found lots of metal shavings in the bottom end of this engine. After our teardown, determined that crankshaft, beautiful, zero play. Go over here to our cylinder, way out of spec. So cylinder to piston clearance was way out of spec. They had some high compression piston in there. The dome's super tall on this guy, just go ahead and assume. And not only that, but it is a Venolia, which was a company I think out of California. I do not think they still make parts, if I'm correct. They're out of business. But we found an old Rocky replacement. Rocky Honda piston right here, 1 millimeter over. As you can see, the dome difference, way different. Check that out. Let's get that out of the package here. Try to do this one-handed. Woo! Yeah, there we go. Look at the difference. Huge difference. So, 1 millimeter over cylinder. See if we can get a good video of this. Perfect. Ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and get that set up, get our piston installed, gaskets. We are going to remove that flywheel, get the cam chain replaced. Going back with the KMC cam chain. We're going back with new guides. Used cam chain tensioner. The whole assembly we're just going to replace. Whatever parts are not usable on the old bike. We did have a lot of cam chain slack. I'm going ahead and just assuming tensioner issues, which we're going to get this replaced. We're back with our top end gaskets. We got some more stator cover gasket, ignition cover. We've got the valve seals. We're going to get those replaced. Cylinder head, our camshaft. Let's see if we can get this out of here. There we go. Oh, dropping some stuff. We had a little bit of wear on the lobes. You can see the little smudges, the dark areas where the oil was burnt. It definitely had insufficient oil at one time, but we're going to keep on digging in. We're going to get this rebuilt and determine exactly where the metal shavings were coming from. So that's where we're going to start there. But let's go ahead and get this piston installed, cylinder, new cam chain guides, cam chain tensioner, and then as we're going, we're going to get that cylinder head, new valve seals replaced. And then let's get this top end fired up. Let's get a braking process. Okay, cam chain tensioner, and piston is installed with base gasket. So while I was installing the cam chain, here's what I found. The reason we had a lot of cam chain slack was because the end of our cam chain guide, which is also a flexible piece, what happens is that the cam chain tensioner pushes along this side, it'll bolt it out like this, which then pushes against the cam chain. That's how we get our tension. Well, the spring tension piece at the base of this guide had actually broke, and it was just hanging off down in the inside. So somebody must have tried to tighten the chain or pushed on it, or it just broke naturally. Hadn't seen that myself, but there's a first for everything. So we get our new guides in here. I'm about to do the valve seals on the cylinder head, and then we'll carry forward. Okay, top end is complete. Valve cover is installed. If anybody's wondering, you can use Honda Bond, Cowie Bond for the RTV sealant. I like to use Ultra Black by Permatex. It's a little better with oil resistance and whatnot, especially if you have just the smallest film of oil that is left on the seams, which of course I dry it with alcohol before installation, but Ultra Black for the win. So now we're going to get our electronic ignition points, valve covers. We set valve clearance already. For manufacturer spec, go ahead and get our ignition cover back together, and then we're going to go ahead and move over to the other side, the clutch side, and we're going to flush the whole cases from that side because we do have some metal shavings there. We got to go ahead and flush the base of that engine out. So here we go. Okay, clutch cover removed, gasket surface clean. Went ahead and just clean the base of the engine just to make sure that any of the metal shavings that was in there, that was present, is cleared and cleaned out, as well as the ignition side. All cleaned up. Got to clean the gasket surface on this side, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to get it assembled, get the carburetor, exhaust assembled, and then we are going to do a fire up and break in process. Make sure we got oil flow. We should be good to go. All right, engine is complete. Carburetor, intake manifold, air box. Ignition system is set to a standard timing. We'll do a fine tune on the ignition as soon as we get her fired up. We're going to slap this tank on, get some fluid in it, and let's fire it up. Let's see what happens. And then we're going to install our exhaust right after the first fire up. Just make sure we don't have any issues before I put that exhaust on. Here we are. The engine is back together, top end is rebuilt, carburetor, intake manifold is installed, fuel in the tank, headcock valve is on. We are ready to fire it up. Now I'm not going to beat around the bush with you guys. It's not a cold start. I actually already started it up. So I'm sorry I didn't give you guys the first start, but it is ready and it sounds amazing. The engine sounds great. The exhaust is not on, but we're just going to fire it, let you guys just hear it. We have oil flow. Oil is flowing great through the cylinder head. At this point, we're just going to fire it up real quick, and then we're going to complete it, put the exhaust on, clean it up, go outside, give it a break in. Here we go. Too long like that with no back pressure. We're gonna go ahead and get that exhaust on, get this carburetor tuned, and dial. Alrighty guys, this is our first break-in process right here. We're gonna let it idle for about 15 minutes. In between video footage, I readjusted valve clearances, warmed up the engine, set the ignition timing, and also set the air-fuel ratio on the carburetor. Check that out. Beautiful, guys. Okay. Next step, ignition cover. We're going to rebuild these front forks. Get these babies rebuilt, they're leaking, and we have a bent front wheel. We're going to try and true that wheel, see if we can align it a little bit better. Okay, we did some truing on the wheel. We got it as close as possible. Check that out. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the forks, get the forks rebuilt, get her detailed. Let's go take a final video. All right, she is done. 1972 XL250. Listen to her purr. What a beauty. She has a pinhole exhaust leak right up in that area. Other than that, I want to say this guy is almost perfect. It doesn't get much better than this, guys. Beautiful.